uh, starting the discussions on the book club.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, if you want a
And
few minutes at this to talk about that, you're more than welcome to have the time.
yes, well, as we shared in the announcements channel a couple of weeks ago, we started the book club. We are reading designing data intensive applications, and we are making discussions asynchronously on Discord. So if you want to join, you still can join us and start reading and join the conversation.
Cool, thanks, Andres. Yeah, to join the book club, you'll need to open a ticket, uh, and then we'll grant a role to you in Discord that will give you access to the book club channel. So we're 1 minute after the hour. Why don't we go ahead and get started? And if anyone else joins, why we'll catch them up. This session is being recorded, and what we're going to do is when we create your team channels this coming weekend, we'll post a link to the recording in the team channel. I'll also post it in the V60 announcements channel by tomorrow morning. So today, what we want to go over is just, what to expect in Voyage 60. Whether if you're a brand new Chingu, we're going to go through the steps, particularly the handbook, and where to find information that'll help you get a good start. If you're a Chingu who's been through voyages in the past, like Tanya, we have some new things we've added to Voyage 60 that we want to go over, so you'll understand what to expect from them. If at any point you have any questions, feel free to ask. And you can also post them in the Google Meet chat. I'm monitoring it, and I'll try to answer questions as they pop up. So let's do some announcements first, just some new things at Chingu. One of the most important things is yesterday, you may be familiar with Kasusha. She's been a member of our staff team for quite some time. In fact, she's the lead on the staff team, along with Andres, or the social media team, I should say. And she is now a member of the Chingu administrative team. So we've recognized that social media is a big part of what we do. So we wanted to elevate that to recognize the work that she's done, and again make it part of the admin team. So that's good news for us. She joins myself, not Corey, Bahare, and Dinesh. And then there's also, some of you may know Ruben. Ruben is still on the admin team, but he's taking a sabbatical because he's working on his master's, or I shouldn't say master's. He's working on a college degree right now. So he's taken a little time off to complete that. So the other two things that are happening outside of the voyages, you may have seen the announcement that we're piloting a new program called Voyage XP. That pilot is going to start on March the 30th. It'll be a week from this coming Monday. We already have people signed up for it. We're just going to run it using one team at first to basically see what are some of the problems we run into. How do we need to adjust this before we roll it out to all Chingus? So Voyage XP is going to be a 10-week program. It includes some additional value-added features, things like live mentoring. It also includes resume and interview practice. And it's in a 10-week voyage, you'll get the opportunity to build even more complex, even applications that are even more real world than what you can in a voyage. Now, Voyage XP will come at a cost. So we haven't quite settled on the price yet. We want it to be reasonable, but at the same time, uh, we want to try to make it worth our mentors' while, to devote their time to it. So it'll most likely be in that $60 range is what we're thinking right now. I probably shouldn't have said that, but I did anyway. So Voyages for the time being will continue to be free, uh, but Voyage XP will be a paid program. So yeah, we're looking forward to that a lot. So there is one other new thing we're rolling out that we'll talk about in detail in a few minutes, but we have expanded the Voyage. Voyage 60, for example, will be 7 weeks, not 6 weeks. The first week we're calling Sprint Zero. It's a time that's devoted just for your team to get to know one another, to meet, to maybe start talking about things like your team agreements. Basically to start with the fundamentals before you start into coding. And again, we'll talk about that in just a moment in quite a bit more depth. So there are no slides in this particular presentation. What you're seeing on your screen is an image of the handbook. And in the chat, if you scroll to the top, I posted the link to it if you don't have it. But this is the handbook that tells you everything about Chingu programs, whether it be Voyages or pair programming or Voyage XP. Oh, pardon me. So for those of you that may not have seen it, the first page, if you scroll down, if you've signed up for Voyage 60, you've already most likely you should have completed your solo project. So this first flowchart is probably something you already know. I think what's of more importance is down at the bottom are the program guides and also the helpful information. So I'm gonna click on Voyage here in just a minute. We're going to go through that. But be aware that there are other resources on this landing page. Things like how do you choose your tech stack? If you click on this, it'll talk to you about things like what are some of the options for hosting your website or your application, I should say. For example, like app deployment. And so here's some popular examples. You could use whatever web hosting site you want to host your app. The only thing we suggest is use one that's free. Don't go to one that's paid. Like we used to recommend Heroku a lot, but Heroku is paid. With Railway, you do have to sign up, and there is a quote, a charge, but Heroku gives you a credit every month. So hopefully that credit would cover your hosting charges. Now, the one thing I do want to mention is Vercel is very popular, especially for teams that are using Next.js, because Vercel is a sponsor of the Next.js open source library. The one thing to be aware of is that Vercel doesn't recognize repos that are maintained in a GitHub organization, like Chingu Voyages. This is where your repo will live. We will create this repo for you at the beginning of Sprint 1. We'll provide your repos. You shouldn't create your own team repo. We'll do that for you. But just be aware that for this to work, if you choose Vercel as a host, what you'll need to do is most likely fork the repo we provide you to one of your teammates and then deploy to Vercel from that fork. But again, that information is here. It's fairly straightforward. So it's nothing that you'll find difficult or you should have problems with at all. So any questions so far? I realize I'm going kind of fast. And let's see, Andres had said, yeah, the railway credit is enough to cover your costs. That's true. That's been my experience as well. I will tell you, railway, all of the Chingu administrative applications we use to manage Chingu, we host in railway, and our monthly bill for everything that we run, all of our bots and our tools, it runs about $25 a month. So that's actually very inexpensive. So let's go back. And again, at the bottom of this landing page of the handbook, there are these technical resources, there's teamwork resources. I would encourage you to take a look at these, sometime between now and the start of the voyage. But let's move on to, what should you expect in Voyage 60? So I'm going to click on the Voyage link. And the first thing you'll see is the schedule. So just be aware that in Voyage 60, there's some key dates. The Voyage Sprint Zero will start on March 23rd, and the Voyage ends on May the 10th. So you need to keep that in mind, because one of the things you have to do as a team is you have to manage your time. You don't want to be in a position where you're developing and designing and doing your work, and you're not paying attention to the time, and then you realize on May the 9th that your project is due the next day. So keep reference this table, kind of keep in mind these key dates. Every Sunday, starting at the end of Sprint Zero, I should say sprints run from Monday to Sunday. So that's true of all 7 sprints. But every Sunday, we will email and DM you a link to a check-in form. And we really appreciate if you take the time to fill that form out. That gives us your current status for the void or for the sprint that's ending. And then if you get that submitted by the next day, by Monday, what we do is starting on Monday, we'll start DMing individual responses to everyone, to give you advice on some of the problems you've encountered, or on some of the successes that you've reached as well. So we're trying to give you some personal feedback throughout your voyage, in every sprint of your voyage, and it's driven by that check-in form. When we get to the end of the voyage, we'll in Sprint 6, it'll probably be about Wednesday of Sprint 6. We will provide you with a link to a form you can use to submit your project. And then on the following Wednesday, on May the 13th, we have a demo day. It's always at noon on Central Daylight Time. Oh, pardon me. It's noon on Central Daylight Time. And it's where teams get roughly 5 to 10 minutes to present their project, to talk about the difficulties that you encountered and how you overcame them, and also about your successes and what worked for you. So it's a way for teams to learn about what other teams did, and also to share what they did. We do not record the demo days, by the way. There are no video recordings on those. And the reason is we want you to feel at ease. We don't want to add any stress to anyone. So it's really a very relaxed way to kind of share in everyone's success and to celebrate.
Jim, I have a quick question regarding the dates.
Yeah, certainly.
What time is the weekly check-in voyage? I see it says it's on Mondays, but what time, so I can make sure my schedule doesn't conflict?
Oh, yeah, no worries. The check-in is asynchronous. It's just submitting the form. The due date will be at noon Chicago time on Monday.
Okay, so it's noon every Monday, Chicago time?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So
Yeah.
how, for the group projects, we come up with our own time for the groups, but the project has to be submitted by Monday. No.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
Oh,
For the deadlines for Chingu required, events, things like, well, any kind of due date, like the uh, the check-in. The check-ins due every Monday at noon, Central Daylight Time, Chicago time. Your demo day presentations, they'll be due Monday, May 11th. Bahari will post a message to all of the product owners and scrum masters to let them know what the deadline is. But I believe it's at noon also. The only deadline that's not at noon is for your project submission. You need to submit your project by no later than midnight Chicago time on May the 10th. And we do that just because we want you to have the maximum amount of time possible. So did that help?
yes, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Good. Yeah, now roughly 2 weeks after the end of the voyage, if you've purchased a certificate product or you have a Chingu subscription, we'll email your completion certificate. In this case, for Voyage 60, that's Wednesday, May the 20th. Um, and the one caveat to that is that if you purchase again a completion certificate or you have a subscription, you still have to successfully complete the voyage. Your team has to have submitted a project. If you're a developer, you have to have done your share of commits to the application. If you're a product owner or a scrum master, you have to have, uh, we look at your communication to make sure you've been helping to coordinate your teams and your team channel. So you don't get a completion certificate. It's not something you buy and you get it. I mean, you do buy it, but you have to also have put the work into the project. And let's see, Dustin asked, am I the only one with
How
an
much is
unstable?
this? How
Oh, I'm
much is
sorry.
the certificate?
Certificate is $4.99, no, $4.99. A little hit, a subscription is $2.99 a month. So it may be that the subscription might actually be cheaper depending on when you take it out.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So, Dustin, I don't know if I assume is everyone else able to hear okay and to see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank
Yes.
you. Let me
It was
just
just on
type it.
my end. Your voice is cutting out a little bit, and I didn't know if it was just me or not.
Oh, no worries. No, I'll try to talk slower too. So,
You're doing great.
okay, cool. Thank you. The other thing that happens on May the 20th is that not Corey, using her automation magic, will publish a showcase article on DevTO. And if you're not familiar with DevTO, it is DevTO/Chingu. DevTO is essentially an online magazine for developers and web professionals across a number of roles. She publishes this showcase article that lists all of the projects that the teams have submitted. We don't reveal any personal identifying information. We do list, who or what is everyone's Discord ID. So you might recognize them within Chingu, but it's not something that other people outside of Chingu would recognize. And then there's links to the application and to the repo. So this is very helpful because it gives you an idea of what teams have done in the past. And let me type that URL for you. If I could type correctly, that is. There you go. So that's our schedule. And you can see we've plotted this schedule out through the end of this year. Um, Later this year, it'll probably be around August or September, we'll remove Voyage 59 through 61 and replace them with the first three voyages in 2027. So any questions about the schedule? Okay. The schedule, you can also find it if you go to the Voyage schedule channel in Discord. We repeat the same schedule there. All right, so before we start, or before you start a voyage or you start coding, just some things to keep in mind. We will provide you starting on Monday when we start the voyage. We will email everyone to let you know that the voyage is started. We'll also post announcements in Discord, but we create a team channel for you. So you and your teammates have access to this channel. No one else does, other than the Chingu admins, myself and not Corey and Kasusha and so on. Now we really don't look at team channels. We do have bots though that run daily that count the number of messages everyone has posted in the team channel. And the reason we do that is we monitor those metrics because over the past 10 years, we found that the number of messages you post per sprint is a really good indication of who's active and who's inactive. If you don't post a message within 3 consecutive days, you'll get an email on Sunday or Thursdays that basically a reminder that says, hey, we've noticed you haven't talk to your team, now's the time you need to re-engage with your teammates. So you'll see that. If you don't communicate in your team channel and you don't do any commits in your GitHub repo for one complete sprint, we'll remove you from the voyage. So it's really important to keep up your communication. And the reason we do that, it sounds a bit drastic, but the reason we do that is we've found over time that teams tend to wait on the people who aren't communicating. And when teams do that, they fall behind schedule. So that's one of the reasons we keep a close eye on that and we remove people who aren't communicating as soon as possible. Now, if something happens, let's say you've got unfortunately, you have an illness in the family or whatever, or a work emergency at your daytime job. If you're unavailable, just let your team know. Again, that's all part of communication. We all have phones, laptops, whatnot. There's really no reason not to let your team know if you're going to be unavailable. It only takes a minute to share that with them. Let's see, Ivan says, or asked, if I show up daily and contribute daily with messages, but in my local time, will that be all right? Absolutely. We want you to be able to communicate with your team in the time block that you've signed up for. And why don't we skip ahead to that? Because I was going to talk about, I'll wait on that. I'll talk about time blocks in a minute, Ivan. The answer is yes. You can communicate asynchronously. You still need to have at least one real-time meeting a week because you can get so much done so much faster in a real-time meeting. But for normal communication, asynchronously in your team channels, perfectly fine. So the other thing we will give you will be, again, your team repo, which I mentioned earlier. That repo will not be available until a week from this coming Monday. It's Monday the 30th. Because again, we want you to spend this first sprint 0, not on writing code, but on getting to know your team and kind of getting to know them and bonding with them. Um, Now, when we give you the repo, we also have bots that run against your repos. And again, we're not looking at the actual messages, the content of what you do in your repo. We're looking on just counting your activity. So when you do a PR, you do a commit, we count that. So because of that, we want you to leave that as a public repo. No one else has write access to it but members of your team. So, but it is a public repo. Um, Please don't rename the repo because we've got these bots that run and it throws the bots off. And what you will find is if you rename your repo, we'll name it back. We'll reach out to you, but we'll change the name back to its original name. And if you need any additional repos, let's say that you wanted your application has a front end and a back end component to it, and you want a separate repo for the front end and the back end, just open a ticket and someone on the admin team will create another repo for you. That's not a problem at all. Any questions on that? Okay, let's dive into the sprints then. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I think I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so we can get it on kind of on one screen. So sprint zero, really your objectives are to get to know your team. And this includes you want to hold a real-time meeting. You want to schedule a meeting and you want to have that meeting before the end of sprint zero. And it's a place for you to get to know one another, talk about your likes, your dislikes, make sure that everyone on the team understands the time block that you've signed up for. And if you find that someone on the team can't work in that time block, open a ticket and we'll look at moving that person to another team and hopefully finding a replacement to move in. So that's sprint one. I also think it's a good idea in sprint one to really start talking about team agreements, even though that's really not an objective until sprint one. You want to talk about, well, how many meetings are we going to have and how long should they be? And will we record meetings? And if a disagreement pops up in the team, how are you going to handle it? Those types of things are always helpful to define up front rather than waiting until they happen. So Dustin had asked on day one, March 23rd, will there be any live check-ins? I can send messages that day, but I may not be available for a call. Yeah, your team could have there's nothing that prohibits you from having a live meeting on day one, but it's not required. What's required is try to introduce yourself in your team channel and maybe spend some time on Monday and Tuesday to schedule a meeting for later in sprint zero. But there's no requirement to have a live meeting on the first day. Yeah, so that's sprint zero. Yeah, and Andres posted some helpful information there as well. That's good. When you get to sprint one on Monday the 30th, we will post a link to your team channel or to your GitHub repo in your team channel, and you'll be able to then start doing coding if you choose, or setting up your packages, that type of thing. But the steps in sprint one are your first step is have a kickoff meeting. Talk about okay, what are we going to do this week? It's really a sprint planning session. What do we need to accomplish this week? You may assign some different members of the team some assignments. You may ask a couple people to go look at and formalize the team agreements. As a team, you'll want to talk about the project and either create that project or well, I need to talk about that. we say choose a project here. If you're a tier 1 or a tier 2 team, you have to choose the project that we provide. We'll post a link to that in your team channel on day 1. If you're a tier 3 team, because you're a little more or further along, you get the choice of what do you want to build. Do you want to use the project that we provide, or do you want to build a project that's something that you've come up with? So in any event, that's what that choose project means. And then create the vision statement is regardless of whether you're defining the project or you're creating ours, you want to take a minute to create just a 1 to 3 sentence vision statement to help you communicate to your make believe end users. What's the value of this? What's this going to do? That vision statement becomes something that you can refer to over and over again. When someone on the team says, "Oh, I want to add this feature," that feature should support the vision statement. If it doesn't, then it's a feature you don't need. Once you have your project chosen, you'll come up with a list of features and you'll prioritize them. And then you'll also in Sprint 1, you want everyone on the team to update their entry in the team list in the team channel. And what this does, this is really a way to verify that everyone knows how to use Git and has the proper Git access. If you find that someone on the team doesn't have access to your Git repo, then just open up a ticket and one of the admin team will help out. Now, on day 1 of Sprint 1, you will receive an email from GitHub when we assign you to your repo. And unfortunately, that email won't come from Chingu. It will come from github.com. And it'll say, you've been assigned to this team. It'll give you a link to click on to validate yourself. You need to click on that link. But until you do, you won't have access to your repo. You have read access, but not update access. Pardon me, someone's wanting in. Oh, it's Cheryl. It's not Corey. Welcome, Cheryl. So that's Sprint 1 in a nutshell. Now, Sprint 2, you see this this define and prioritize features. Sprint 2 is where you take that list, and if you have a product owner and a scrum master, they will create your initial product backlog. And if you have a UI UX designer, they'll use that feature list to start creating a wireframe of the application. Now, if you don't have a UI UX designer, then someone on the team needs to volunteer to do that. Or it doesn't have to be a single person. It could be a group exercise or 1 or 2 of the developers could do that. But you need to have that UI UX design because it becomes a roadmap for your front end. Now, once your product owner has created the initial product backlog, from that point forward, everyone on the team should contribute to it. Now, you need to work through the product owner. You don't want to just update and start adding features or taking features away. This has to be through team agreement, as to how you change that backlog, but everyone should have visibility to it. And I'm a big advocate, a proponent of everyone on the team should be able to add notes to the items in the backlog. I think that's really important. The teams I've worked on in the past, we've used our backlog as like a diary. If I'm assigned a task and I find something really unusual, it could be a bug in a library we're dependent on. It could be a requirement or an edge case we didn't think about. I like to document that in that backlog item. That way, everyone on the team can see it, and we can plan on how are we going to address this issue. Now, finally, once we get through with Sprint 2, you've got a completed backlog that is your roadmap for what are all the tasks you're going to accomplish in this voyage, and you've got your front-end design. Now, when you head into the remaining sprints, they're just going to follow Scrum, and those sprints are where you're going to design, code, test, and deploy the individual features as you work on them. And you could start coding actually in Sprint 1. You don't have to wait for uh, Monday of Sprint 2 to start doing the backlog or Monday of Sprint 3 to start coding. Once you complete the steps that we've laid out here for a sprint, you can head right into the tasks for the next sprint or the goals for the next sprint. And that's important because you'll find, as you go through any job or any organization, if you haven't discovered this already, you'll find out soon that time is always your worst enemy. So you want to maximize your time whenever you can. Now, finally, when we get down to Sprint 6, hopefully you've reached your MVP, your minimum viable product by this point. So Sprint 6 becomes a closure step. It's where you clean up your README documentation and you maybe do a little more testing of your application and you start preparing your showcase presentation for the following week. But you can still be coding and testing up through the end of Sprint 6. It's just it really takes some of the pressure off if you're able to get your app, if you're able to reach that MVP by the end of Sprint 5 or beginning of Sprint 6. Now you can sit back and really kind of enjoy and celebrate what you've accomplished as a team. Now, I've gone through a lot here. I realize that, and I've done it as kind of an overview. If you scroll down through the handbook, you'll see there's a video overview for each section. So for Sprint 0, you can play this video. It'll give you a 5-minute overview of what needs to be done in Sprint 0. Following that, written out is basically what's your objective for each of these sprints, how do you go about accomplishing that objective, and what are some helpful resources. And we've laid this out this way because we understand basically people learn in one of two ways normally. People are either visual learners, which is why we have this video and the diagrams, or you're someone who learns best by reading, which is why we've defined it this way. So it adds to the amount of information in the handbook, but it's there for what we think is a good reason. So are there any questions so far? I know I've been through quite a bit, and for those of you that it's your first voyage, I know that it's a lot hitting you at once. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I have a cold right now. So, another hint here is that when you're scheduling meetings, take a look at this tool, Sketch. It's actually now called Timeful, but these links still work. Sketch is a tool you can use in your team where you can define a meeting and you can also specify here's some days where we could have that meeting, and then everyone can update that with the time that works best for them. So it's a way to find what's the best meeting time for everyone in the team. Now, I do want to jump back real quick, or I want to jump forward actually, and I do want to talk about time blocks. Time blocks are something we introduced in, I believe it was Voyage 59. And down at the end of this Voyage page, There's some Voyage tips. And one of those tips is, how do I choose a time block? You did this when you signed up for the Voyage. And basically, the reason we did this is we used to match teams based upon the time zone that you live in. And what we found is that wasn't always accurate because, someone could be a third shift worker. They could be maybe you're working a help desk, or maybe you're working on a job that where you show up for work at midnight, you don't get off until 7 the next morning. So for you, working in first shift may not be the best time of the day for you. So what happens now, as of Voyage 59, is when you sign up for the Voyage, you pick your time block. And what a time block is it's based on GMT 0. So, for example, I live in UTC 6. The best time for me is actually for me, the best working time is twilight in UTC 0. So I would have picked the twilight time block. And so by doing that, when we form teams, we'll match your team based upon what time block you chose. So everyone in your team will have said, my primary or my secondary time block I prefer to work in is in this example is twilight. Now, we've found so far that some people, they haven't chosen the time block based upon, their hours of the day. They've just looked at this top heading and said, oh, well, I prefer to work in daylight, not thinking that, oh, this is daylight in UTC 0. So if you find that everyone else on your team, I should say, prefers a different time block than you do, that indicates maybe you filled that request out incorrectly. Just open up a ticket and ask for help from the admin team, and we'll see if we can move you to a different team. Any questions about time blocks? Okay. Let me go back to the Voyage. Again, I'm not going to go through every sprint. I'll let you look through this, but I would say between now and Monday, spend some time looking at the Voyage section of the handbook. I wouldn't say read it from beginning to end, but understand, what's expected of you. Understand what you need to do in sprint 0 and sprint 1 would be a good idea. And then as you're going through the Voyage, at least before the end of each sprint, take a step forward and look at the handbook and look and see, well, what's needed in the next sprint? Pardon me again.
I apologize if you already mentioned this, but I'm curious, how many weeks is each sprint? Are they all the same, or are some of them longer?
No, they're all the same. Sprints are always 1 week in length, and they start on Monday and they end on a Sunday. And
6 weeks total?
yeah, so it's 7 weeks. Sprint 0
That's
through
right.
sprint
That's right.
6.
You did say that.
Yeah. And never worry about asking a question. You apologize. No apology is necessary. I can almost guarantee that someone else in this meeting had a similar question. So you actually, when you ask a question, when anyone asks a question, you're doing a service to everyone else in the meeting. Because some people are shy and they tend not to want to ask questions. And that's actually a really good segue of something to watch out for, especially if you're newer. So I'm going to go to that first page of the handbook and to glossary. And we're going to look at the imposter syndrome. If you're not familiar with this is something that will hit you in a Voyage. The imposter syndrome is that feeling that you get that everyone else knows more than I do. And I have this feeling. This hits me every single day. It hits me every time I have a technical discussion with not Corey. Not so much Andres, but with not Corey. That was a joke, Andres. So, but in reality, even though you may think you know less than other people, we all know about the same amount of information. What happens is it's just in different areas. So this overlap of commonality is narrower than our total body of knowledge. Well, what happens is that the imposter syndrome is something that makes people nervous. It adds stress, and it causes your performance to decrease because you worry. Oh well, everybody else knows more than I do. And again, that's not true. And I think Cheryl and Andres, when the three of us have had these discussions, we work together quite closely. There are things that I know that they don't know, and there are things that they know that I don't know. And rather than worrying about, oh, I don't know something, we basically help each other to learn something new. So we're mentoring one another, and that should be the same thing that you do in a team. You need to support one another. You're not in competition with one another. Now, the other thing where this comes into play and is important is that a lot of times in Chingu, people when this gets the best of them, when they don't understand this is reality on this side, they may have these feelings where they think, oh, I need to drop out. Well, and 9 times out of 10, they want to drop out of the voyage without talking to their team about the feelings they're having. What I would encourage every one of you to do is that if you have these feelings, talk to your team. Tell them, hey, I'm having a problem. I don't, we're using React XYZ library, and I'm just not getting it. I'm making mistakes. Well, your teammates can help you. This is where things like pair programming come into play. Maybe you shouldn't be working on that particular task by yourself, but if you're able to work on it with another member of your team, you'll actually end up with something better than what either one of you could have done independently. The other thing is don't be afraid of mistakes. The only mistake is the one that we tend to repeat over and over and over again. Mistakes are a great learning tool. I don't know about you, but I learn more from my mistakes, and I remember the lessons that I've learned far longer than I do from my successes. So it's often easier said than done, but don't let the imposter syndrome hit you. Realize that this impacts everybody, no matter what their profession is, and no matter how many years they've been in their profession. If someone tells you, oh, they've never suffered from imposter syndrome, it doesn't impact them, they're either lying or they're delusional. It hits everybody. So, any questions?
Hey Jim, Kamal here. Yes, I
Yeah.
have one. Just as you talk on imposter syndrome, so I thought that I should break this ice on myself. So, going to sprint 0, right? So, you said we would be talking, introducing to our team members. So, will there be any lead who would be leading that discussion? Like, in this case, you are leading this call, right? With the sprint 0, would there be someone who would be, would be a step ahead and doing all these questioning thing and asking, oh, Kamal, it's your turn. If you can introduce yourself, or Mr. A, it's now your turn. You can go ahead and explain your role in the team. Those kind of things. Is that the team that has to decide, or that would be predetermined in a sprint 0?
No, that's a great question. And what will happen is that hopefully you will be lucky enough that you'll have a product owner and a scrum master on your team. Now, if we don't have enough product owners and scrum masters, it's possible you could be on a team of just developers. So if that is the case, I would say that bring that up and talk about in Sprint Zero, how are you going to handle the fact that you don't have a product owner or scrum master? And also talk about, I would start out with introductions. I would do it fairly organically. Hopefully, someone on the team will step up. Someone will be, maybe there's an extrovert on your team, and that they can help guide the conversation. Now, if you have a product owner and or a scrum master on your team, they will help kick that discussion off because it's their job to help coordinate the team. Now, I'm being very careful when I say coordinate and things are team decisions. Chingu has a flat management structure. There is no project lead. There's no manager in a Voyage team. Everyone is at exactly the same level. Everyone's voice and opinion carries the same weight. So, everyone needs to recognize that and really use that. There's no room for, it's kind of harsh to say, but there's no room for like type A or really harsh ego in Chingu. We're all here to learn and we're all here to support one another. And again, having said that, obviously, it helps if someone jumps in and takes a lead, but you can help to coordinate a meeting or lead a meeting, without being the boss of the meeting, if you will. I hope that makes sense.
Totally. No,
yeah, it's a little convoluted.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, got it.
Cool.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for asking. That's a great question. And we have had teams, to be quite honest, where we have what are called people issues. People argue. People have disagreements. In a team, you want to remember that disagreements are okay. We don't expect everyone to have the same opinion. And in fact, if everyone on your team has exactly the same opinion and thinks the same way, that's actually kind of a danger signal. In that case, the question I'm asking is, what are we missing? Are we really working outside of our comfort zone enough? I can tell you, I don't think she'll mind, but not Corey and I work daily on the Chingu admin team. And we have some very, very different technical opinions. Andres and I have worked together closely for several years. He and I have some very different technical opinions as well. But we still work together because we realize it's okay to disagree as long as we do it in a professional way. One of the things I like to do is when I'm disagreeing with another developer or even a group of developers, the first thing I try to do is listen. And I ask myself the question, is their way or their suggestion better than mine? And is it better in the short term? Is it better in the long term? I try to go down like a decision tree. I try to evaluate, my position to determine, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right for a certain category of application development, but not the one we're working on now. It could be that my way is the best way, but it's not the best way for a project where we only have 7 weeks to build an application. So you want to be very forgiving and very open with your team. Again, the key is to do it in a professional way. And remember that even if there's a decision, let's say the team votes on something and they vote on someone else's suggestion rather than yours. This is only 7 weeks. It's not going to matter. What matters most is that you work outside your comfort zone and you learn from your team and you get that application completed at the end so you can walk into interviews and point to it and say, I learned this. And it could be in the interview. One of the things you may have learned, you may have said is, you know what, my team pushed me to do this, and it turned out that was a better way. But it could also be, my team pushed me to do this, and it didn't work out. It was not the right decision, and we recognized it. But at the end of the day, I learned something. That becomes, if you will, a mathematical proof that for whatever that decision was, that was the wrong decision. And so it's something that I'm not likely to repeat in the future. That's a way to demonstrate to an interviewer that you have a level of professional maturity. So great point. You got me talking, Kamal. This is where Andres will jump in and say, that's not hard to do. Yeah, and what Andre said is very true. True leaders, they create an environment where people contribute productively and to their maximum without being ordered to. You know, they want to contribute. You will find in a Voyage, you'll hear me say this over and over and over again. A couple things. First of all, that communication is more important to your success than your technical skill. You know, you are smart people. If there's some new technical something, you'll be able to pick it up relatively quickly. You've got YouTube videos, you've got documentation, you know, if it's a library, you've got the doc, you've got readmes, you know, you've got courses, you've got articles. You'll get through that. The people side of product development, of application development, is far tougher than anything else. Oh, I'm glad you could join us, Dustin. Thank you. Yeah, so what other questions or concerns, worries, anything at all? What's on your minds? Something I didn't mention, and I should have, is when you get access to your team channels on Monday, you'll find that we will have pre-populated them with quite a bit of information. You'll have a link to helpful information like the handbook. We'll summarize the steps that you need to do. We'll have a directory of your team. We'll list everyone's Discord name, their role in the team, whether they're a product owner, a scrum master, whatever. That kind of information will be there. And weekly, we will broadcast information to your team channel as well. This is the Chingu admin team. We'll broadcast information specific to that sprint. Again, over 10 years, we've learned quite a bit about what types of problems hit teams in specific sprints. And so we'll try to get ahead of that curve and give you some advice on Monday as each sprint starts. Trying to think of what I have forgotten to share. Yeah, and at any point, I should say, if you want to be again open and communicate with your team, and if you run into a problem, go to your teammates first. But you could always open up a ticket as well, and one of the admin team will help out, give advice when they can, or just post questions in the other Discord channels. I think community chat is probably our most popular channel, but there's also a technical discussion channel. I'm scrolling down now to find it. Yeah, technical or technology talk. There's also a channel. I think everyone here can see it, called Voyage Discussions. That is a channel shared by all Voyagers. So you can ask anything and you'll get answers from other teams, not just yours. Again, your team channel, only you and your teammates have access to. This channel is shared by all teams. And unfortunately, in prior voyages, I haven't seen that one used that much. But uh, there's nothing wrong. And if your team has a question and you think maybe other voyagers have the answer, to ask it there. So we're at the top of the hour. Um, Again, if you have any questions at all, why either post them in the Google Meet chat or feel free to speak up and we'll be happy to answer them.
I have another question, Jim.
Sure.
I just really found out about the Voyage today and the whole. I did the found you guys today, and I also see that the registration is due today. Is there any way that I could have an extended time to submit the stuff, the individual project and all of that?
Unfortunately, there's not.
It's
Yeah.
not? Okay.
Yeah. And the reason is that matching the teams and getting everything ready, like the Discord channels and whatnot, takes quite a bit of time. So unfortunately, which is primarily not Corey and myself. Well, it's primarily not Corey for this voyage, but it takes a lot of time to put that together. Now, what I would say
Okay.
is go ahead and do your solo project and do your voyage sign up once your solo project is completed. Because if someone drops out of the voyage and we have an open slot, we'll try to move you in at that point.
Okay. I'll do that. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Another good question. Yeah. Thank you. All right. I'm going to go back again.
Hello, Jim.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this question is based on the Voyage XP. Uh, it's the Voyage XP meant for those who has been on the voyage for some time now, or new voyagers can join. Say, for instance, this is the first voyage I'll be doing with Chingu. So
Yeah.
immediately after I'm done with this voyage, can I sign up for the Voyage SP?
You could. So Voyage XP, yeah, you're right. Voyage XP, you have to be a tier 2 or tier 3 Chingu. You have to successfully have completed one tier 2 or one tier 3 voyage. I should say completed one voyage as a tier 2 or a tier 3. And then Voyage XP runs for 10 weeks. We haven't scheduled the next Voyage XP session. The one that we start on March 30th is a trial. It's a pilot. And we're using it to uncover, what are things that we could improve on in the way we manage and the services we offer in a Voyage XP. So I would say it's going to be at least, I'm guessing 14 to 16 weeks before we would schedule another Voyage XP session. So, but the good news is if when you complete Voyage 60, you'll be in a good position to sign up for Voyage XP once we have a schedule firmly set for the next one.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for that. And what we'll do is in this Voyage XP section of the handbook, we will be adding a schedule section at the top once we know what the schedule is. Like I said, this is something we just added this year, so we're still working out bugs. And for Chester Realty Group, I don't know if you saw Cheryl's answer. She said that if you complete your solo project, if you can get it in quick and get it accepted. Oh, good, you saw that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're
I'm
welcome.
Kiva, by the way.
I'm sorry. What's your name again?
Kiva.
Kiva. Okay. Pleased to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you. Cool.
Likewise.
So Any other questions? All right, if there are no questions, we're going to stop this meeting. Again, what I'll do is I'll post the recording of this in the Voyage 60 announcements channel tomorrow morning. But I want to thank you for your questions. Thanks for your participation. And thank you most of all for joining Chingu and your support. It's our members that really make us what we are. And I should have said before, but Sprint Zero, Voyage XP, these were all ideas from members. So as Andres will tell you, if you were in a Voyage 2 years ago, it looks different today than what it did then, because in every Voyage, we try to do little improvements. We don't want to stand still. So, thank you, Ivan. I appreciate it. So in any event, thanks everyone. We will be posting status updates in the V60 announcements channel probably starting tomorrow. So keep an eye on that, and good luck in Voyage
Jim.
60. Yes, sir.
Jim, there was a
Yeah.
raised hand by Sasi Kumar, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you have a question, go ahead and ask. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I would say if you do have a question and if it comes up after this session's over, again, open up a ticket in Discord, and myself or one of the admin team will do our best to help out. So cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone. It's good to see you, Andres. We haven't talked in probably 3 weeks. And thanks, Cheryl, for your help. And again, to everyone here, we'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jim. See you around.
Thanks very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.